Greetings, Manchester. In tune to the search engine. Legacy 90.1. Big shout as always goes out to the one and only DJ Lighter. Dub and jungle. Okay, gonna move in. Let's get it right. Moving swiftly on this evening because we have got I believe it's a packed show. A lot of information, a lot of knowledge going to be available by the guests that we have this evening. So we want you to get involved. And as always, a number to get involved. Text line number is 07599642626. That's 07599642626. You can also get involved. We are online, so you can go on YouTube, which is SEUK Global. And you can also join us on Facebook, which is Legacy 90.1, and get involved there. And as always, your views and opinions are always wanted, needed, and much appreciated. So, show for this evening, it's a historical, I would say, show, monumental kind of legacy as well. A couple of my guests that I've had on before, we're talking about the Windrush scandal. Can we still call it a scandal, a travesty? It seems to be, never ending in a sense. Where are we getting to some kind of like confusion? We have Windrush Day that's coming up. I think that's on the 22nd. We'll get confirmation of that. But there's been a lot that has been taking place, and the guests that I've got on this evening are a group of individuals and linked up with other people across the country that have been doing a multitude of work in supporting victims of the Windrush scandal. And some of these victims, I'm sure you've heard stories over the time, whether that's via different radio shows or whether you've done your own research and gone online or listened to the news. But when you hear about some of the things that these victims have been through, it's a real travesty, minimal, not being able to come into the country, being locked up in a detention center, people are actually being refused medical help, and it goes much further. And as I said, the groups that we've had on tonight, I'm going to be talking with Glenda Andrews, Anthony Brown and Julia Davidson, who are from Julia and Glenda. Well, Anthony's there as well, although Anthony's more based in Manchester, but he's still part of the Windrush, Preston Windrush Descendants. And so I'm going to talk to them about the work that they've been doing, people that they've been involved with, and also some of the challenges that they've been taking up for their victims to the government, to the Home Office. And I suppose the person there at the head of the Home Office is Miss Priti Patel. So again, they'll give us some feedback as to how and the response has been from those quarters. So let me just, we are still waiting to be joined by Anthony. Let's just quickly tell you, second half of the show, we're going to be being joined by Dr Jak Beula. I think that's how you pronounce his name. You know what I'm like with pronouncing names. And now Dr Jak is the creator, inventor, innovator of the game, the Nubian Jak game originally. Yeah, he's probably better known for that, which, wow, I think we're talking, I don't know how many years ago that Nubian Jak game was first came out. But since then, he's done many things. I think he was doing many things before that. But in the link with this show this evening, what we're going to be particularly talking with him about is a monument that's being put up in London, a statue of in commemoration of the nurses and midwives who came over to the UK and held up the NHS. That's going to be erected in London on the 5th of July. So we're going to be talking to Dr Jak about that, why the monument, why it needs to be there, how he got into that. And hopefully the Glenda, Julia and Anthony will stay with us and join in that conversation with Dr Jak. But let me just go over and say good evening to Julia and Glenda, who are with me at the moment. So yeah, okay, hold on. Good evening, Glenda and Julia. How are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Julia?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah, let me just turn you up a bit there. All right, brilliant. Okay, so yeah, thank you for coming on. And first of all, I know we've been on before, Glenda, but I know if I can remember from the last time that we had loads of people on, and we actually spoke to you, I think at the end, although yeah, it was still quality. But can I say hello to you and just ask you to just tell us just a little bit about yourself and your role with the Preston Windrush?
Okay, and thank you so much, Anthony, for inviting us again. This is of course in light of the march that we're planning next week to gain justice for the Windrush generation and descendants. My name's Glenda Andrew. I'm born in Preston, and I'm the co-founder of Preston Windrush Generation and Descendants UK. And we also have a project called the Windrush Community Response, where we provide Caribbean-style meats, traditionally home-cooked, to the Windrush generation and the descendants and the wider community. So, as you know, and some people may know that because our founder, Sakina Munty, was told a few years ago that she wasn't British while she was applying for her daughter's passport to go on a school trip to Spain. And since then, we've gone down the rabbit hole, really. I didn't know, like many people, I think, didn't understand or experience Windrush, but people like my mum and so many others that we come into contact with have, not just when they came, but also in later years as they got older, through traveling, they were having difficulties with their passports and work or health, the health services and things like that. So really, we're campaigning and as advocates to support all those that have been impacted, and to support also organisations and groups who also want to help people that have been impacted by the Windrush scandal. And one of our real big campaigns deeply is to change the law and get the Windrush Act.
Brilliant. I hope when exactly did, because I know, because the thing was, I was looking on your website, yeah, and I know you said about Sakina and 1994, but no, not 1994. Where am I? When did
2019 with Sakina? Not last year, the year before.
Okay, but
so we've been going now for 2 years. I can't believe it's been 2 years. Now, my mum, she went on a holiday. My niece was getting married in St. Vincent. And when they were coming back, my mum was having some difficulties when she arrived at Barbados to get the plane back to the UK. And that's when I helped my mum with her naturalization application. So again, I didn't know about Windrush. And it was only by helping my mum and contacting the home office, the Windrush scheme, did I know anything, until Sakina then really contacted me and said, Glenda, are you the Windrush generation? And I said, no, I'm too young. And I said, but my mum is. And she said, well, I've just been told I'm not British and I need to apply to the Windrush scheme. And I said, I don't want to swear. And I said, that's ridiculous. I said, you're born here. And so I didn't understand how that could happen. And of course, it made me look at my own situation and those of my children and other people's children and who else is being impacted by this. So again, I always say the Windrush scandal is deep and wide, like that gospel song, So Anthony'd like that. I'm going gospel. So yeah, it is very, very deep, and it covers a wide diaspora. I'm even using these big words now, which I didn't usually do, but it does. You know, it's not just the Caribbean countries. There's Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. We have people contacting us from South Africa, Australia. You know what I mean? So this is really, really huge, and we just want people to really realize that it affects us all, and we're all impacted by it. Because if you know someone that came here that's struggling, they don't even know why they may be victimized, whether it's at work, you know, you've lost your job. I sometimes think that is the underlying factor. They lost the job. They don't know why they lost their job, but it could be to do with the Windrush issue about your status. So what we're wanting people to do is just contact us and tell us about your situation, your experiences, and see if it is linked to the Windrush scandal.
Okay, then, Glenda, thank you very much. Listen, we're just going to go for a break, and then we'll come back. But when we go for a break, we're still live on air, and I've got a question for you that I'll still ask you. So, listeners, if you want to get the question, it's in the break. We will come back to Julia when we do come back. Then you can get online and you can hear that question in the break. But we'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy. We want to.
Hi guys. So yeah, I mean, we've got a break. It's literally 2.5 minutes, but I try to just have a question in the breaks that I can ask. And my question for this particular break is about the actual Windrush Day. Now, there is a lot that I've seen going on. That there's a lot of people in let me just get that actually. Let me see who that is. Hello, Legacy. Oh, sorry, can't speak at the moment. I'll call you back. Yeah, the Windrush Day it's
next week Tuesday.
But there's a lot. I mean, I've actually looked on your Preston page, and I've seen that you're publicizing so much that's going on across the country. I mean, this may be a bit of a silly question. A positive thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it got to be. It's raising this Windrush standards. We're a unique people, and it's got to be remembered. I mean, I think this is the third year, isn't it? Third or fourth year.
Third year.
Since Nigel Guy created the Windrush flag. I think, and the Windrush flag, for me, symbolizes 2021 or 2020. It takes it from the Empire ship, you know what I mean? Which is great, you know what I mean? Because that's history. But we're taking it to the 21st century and beyond, that raising the Windrush standards. I haven't got those Windrush standards with me, but have you got? Can you? I don't know, because I'm not.
In relation to, I don't know what happened to Julia. I'm sure she'll be back. But in relation to the day, like I said, because again, we a lot of people are doing this, and they're getting funding for it.
I don't know. The Windrush Day celebrations, that's different.
Yeah.
The Windrush, the raising of the Windrush flag on Windrush Day, it should be done together with the celebrations. Wouldn't it be nice if all those celebrating Windrush Day with their fun days, their events.
Okay, also, just hold that there, Glenda. We want to be coming back.
Okay.
Come.
Legacy 90.1.
Welcome back. You're on Tune to the Search Engine with Anthony. I'm currently speaking with Julia Davidson, and I'm calling that book writer then, Julia, and Glenda Andrews, and calling the actress. I'm terrible. And we went to the break. I'm going to get Julia to introduce herself to us. But in the break, I did ask a question about Windrush Day and whether it was a positive thing. And Glenda was just explaining to us about the Windrush flag and the raising of the Windrush flag. Continue, Glenda.
Okay, so the Windrush flag is us raising the standards of the Windrush generation, and it's a very emotional moment, and it's not just recognizing and remembering all those people that came and have given their lives to this country, and but to celebrate also, because without them coming here, many of us won't be here today. So, but I think it's an honor to raise that flag. I'm so glad that I met Nigel Guy, who created it. And that's what we do. We share with everybody, you know, yes, celebrate, but raise the flag, because it's great. It's great to celebrate and have fun, but remember the struggle, remember the challenges, remember those victims of the Windrush scandal. Remember that we need to change the law, we need to change the policy. So Windrush is not, the Windrush Day is more than raising the flag, celebration, but also let's change the law. Because how can we celebrate, but we still have a scandal? There are still people not being paid compensation. There's still people not being able to rectify their status. There's still people stuck in countries for over 20 to 50 plus years. That's not right.
So it's more important the day, Well,
the day.
It's the
22nd.
You've explained that really, really well. In what I'm saying, and the point I think I'm trying to make is similar to the point of Black History Month. In the sense that at a time there was a lot of funding for Black History Month and a lot of people was doing it. Soon as that funding got pulled away, you kind of like, there was some people that continued doing celebrations for about Black history. Now yourselves, Windrush is not about a day. You know, you have not stopped.
It's every day.
Every day, 360.
It's every day. I was told. Yeah, I was told when we first started doing this, and I'll never forget it, because I went away on holiday, and someone said to me, and they were right, Windrush is every day. We meet people every day, victims of racism, of so many atrocious behaviors by establishments and individuals. So Windrush is every day. It's every single day.
Thanks for that, Julia. So, Glenda. So, Julia, can you just tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Good evening, Anthony, and good evening, Sister Glenda. Really delighted to be here on your program again, on your broadcast. And Windrush for me, I'm the founder of Peterborough Windrush Generation and Descendants UK. And I'm part of the Preston Windrush family alongside Anthony Brown. And 2 years ago, I was able proudly to get the Peterborough City Council to enable me to raise the Windrush standard flag. It's a very monumental day for us all on the 22nd. You asked why the importance. Well, the importance is we were invited here in the first instance, and a lot of people think that we only landed in the UK in 1948, but we were here long before that, because some of us served in the Second World War and indeed the First World War. My father is a Windrush generation child, and I'm glad to say he's 98, still living, and I'm here with him, and I'm a descendant of the Windrush generation. So for me, it's integral that we keep that day celebrated, and I've asked for the Peterborough City Council to add the 22nd of June into their annual civic diary, because I think they have an obligation and a responsibility to do so. We are part of the Commonwealth. We came here, we've served here, we've lived, we've worked, we've paid our dues, and this Windrush scandal are treating our community as if we're second-class citizens, as if we don't matter, as if we're invisible. by raising greater awareness of what we do within the communities, grassroots agencies, we're able to reach out to people who have either become a victim of the Windrush scandal. We've been contacted from far and wide, America, Canada, you name it, right across the board, Dominican Republic, the Caribbean. We've got people who are having problems here in the UK, and we've got people who are out of the UK or wanting to get back into the UK who find themselves embargoed and find that they can't. For one or two reasons: either their papers, documents have been retained and taken away from them by the Home Office. Some of our clients have been detained in detention centres, and some are scared to come forward because they think that they are the next deportees to be taken out of the UK. So what do? We do a whole raft of things: counselling, advocates, housing, employment, welfare, just being there to support them, to say whatever the obstacle, no matter the cause, no matter how trivial it may seem to you, we are here, or how frustrating it is that they can't get even a response back from filling in application forms sent to the Home Office, and the Home Office are putting people through repeated trauma, asking them to reinvent things when they can't, because they've given all the information that they possibly can, and yet they're still finding that that isn't sufficient. But if somebody, I ask you this, Anthony, if somebody's been in this country for over 50, 60, 70 years and have paid their dues and paid their taxes, how come these people do not have a footprint? The government, the Inland Revenue, has taken taxes off these people. People have lived in homes and had their homes taken away, their livelihoods turned upside down. They've been thrown into a spiral of a vacuum almost, where they never thought they'd ever find themselves being in. And what we're saying is, it's not right that the government can do this, because the legislation changed in 1972. And all people had to do then was register. This nonsense in the 80s that's saying that people who were born after that year find themselves not being a UK citizen is nonsense. And then there is the other thing: if there is a misdemeanor with the police, the Home Office has applied that ruling to scrutinise and say, because of a minor, so let's talk here, a parking offence or something that may have had the instances of the police involved, they will find themselves being detained and, worse still, being deported. Now, we've been integral to get people off scheduled flights that were put on. How did we do that? By getting hold of human rights lawyers. We've lobbied, we've campaigned, we've written to our MPs. I personally have written to MPs and councillors and bishops. I even wrote to the monarchy, and we all know that they're supposed to be impartial. But when something sits very feverishly at the front of the core of everything that you're doing, and you wake up every day to these challenges, do you know, I'm not being whipped, but I feel that I'm still in shackles, and therefore I must support our community. I'm an ex-civil servant. I gave 8 years of my life to Peterborough City Council. So am I going to use those opportunities to raise awareness? Of course I am. Am I proud to stand on the town hall steps with the Windrush banner? Of course I am. I'm asking all the community, Manchester, Birmingham, London, no matter where we are, Leeds, Liverpool. I always say, when we come together, we are greater in numbers. When we're not, that's when these atrocities are allowed to take place. And I don't think the Home Office was aware that we were going to all join up and network and be a strong voice for people. And as you know, some activists have been hurt for the cause. I'm not going to go into that because that is still ongoing. But that doesn't diminish the light. And the light is, we are a Windrush generation, and we've served respectfully, adherently. We have done everything that we have possibly can. And there is no way that we should be being treated the way we are. It's repugnant. It's not right. legislation does need to be changed. That's why we with the support of Anthony Brown and various other professionals, we've gone forward asking for a judiciary review. Now, I would like Anthony Brown to obviously pick up on from that, but if you do want any questions, then we're more than happy to assist. However, that said, the work is there to be done. We know we're not given an equal opportunity as our counterparts. And we know we have supporters and they come in all shapes and sizes. But what we must keep doing, and we're thanking you for allowing us to do that, is to air this on your program, because we can't do it all. And we're looking for that support. We can do the physical side of things. And even on the 23rd of this month, the day after the 22nd, we are marching to the abusers, the Home Office, and then we are going on to the Courts of Justice, which is Parliament Square, so that my colleague and King and my sisterin and brethren can hand in a statement to the clerks of Parliament, so that we hope, with the hopes, it will be read. We don't, and you know, you mentioned something before about being paid. We don't get a thing. You know, what we're doing out of love. We're doing it out of empathy. We're doing it out of compassion. And the reason why I feel so personally strong about my commitment to the Windrush generation is because my brother is a victim. And because there is a 40-year gap between me and my brother, and we've only just reunited, he was 2 minutes away from being detained in a detention centre. And if it wasn't for the fact that my father had information to share to enable him, I can't begin to think where he would be. So this is important, because Windrush isn't just about Black people. Yes? Let's make no mistakes here. And it is not about the first generation of people alone. It is the descendants and the descendants' children who are being subjected to this hostility, the hostile environment that they see themselves and find themselves in with the Home Office, and the rogue, unlawful policing laws that the Home Office are rolling out. So what's the connection? We're disadvantaged in education. We're disadvantaged in the welfare state. We're disadvantaged in the home economics. We're disadvantaged in the infrastructure, but yet we are the fabric. We are the backbone of infrastructure, but yet we get a poor deal. And I have to say, why is that? I think the UK should hang their heads in shame. They really should, because they've persecuted, they've lied, they have taken people's liberties away. And believe you me, there are people who've died for the cause. Paulette Wilson died. Mama Edwards, a lifelong activist. Yes, and I would like to see plaques in those two ladies' names. So I'm really pleased that you've got Nubian Jak. I'm going to call him that because I'm going to say that with endearment. But I'm so pleased that he's here this evening to see if he can support us with that venture too. Because it's only right that our community have those strong role models there to remind them of the struggles, because we see those struggles every day. And it's very cutely done. But when Black people are being stopped all the time, when Black people feel that they can't go in a particular shop to buy something just because of the color of their skin, that there is something drastically wrong with that. And we have to look at, why is that? You know, we're educated. Yeah. You know, we're not doing anything we shouldn't do. That is a perception that is perceived by a small majority, but that small majority is making it bad for everybody. And I will leave you with this. I have 2 children, grown children, but when they were babies, for me to be told I must be their nanny, that is grossly offensive. And that is how arrogant and how crudely they think it is. And then they will describe me as being an angry black woman. They haven't begun to see me angry yet. I've had to absorb that and channel that feeling and that emotion to use it for the good. So we are here to support anyone. If you feel that you're not getting the support within your community by the people who we paid the taxes to, then please do come to us. Go to Glenda Andrew at Preston Windrush, come to Julia Davidson at Peterborough Windrush, go to Anthony Brown at WD Legal in Manchester, and we will connect. Even Nigel Guy, even Desmond Jadu. There are lots of support. There is plenty of support if people only but knew. Do not suffer in silence, and do not think that that magnifying glass is not looking at you. If there is one thing that I would like to explain further, this is an injustice to our people. Now, I'm not being beaten for the cause, but I feel those wounds every day. And if you're asking me what is the significance of the 22nd of June, it's about giving it back to our ancestors. On our standard, it says we are standing on their shoulders. We are a generation of people. We bring culture, we bring poetry, we bring healing, we bring love, we bring compassion, we bring wealth. Our food is love. It's love on a plate. I don't do fish and chips occasionally, but you give me my rice and peas, you give me my and sausage, you give me my callaloo and dumpling. Yeah. And in the morning, don't give me cornmeal porridge. Don't give me bloody Weetabix. Give me my cornmeal porridge. And if I haven't got cornmeal, green banana porridge will do too.
You got it going. You got Julia going there. I love Julia.
And I think the other amazing thing was, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's absolutely wonderful that did you say your dad was 98?
My dad is 98. From Jamaica, Trelawney, 98, living, breathing. Yes, he's got some health issues. And that's another thing. It's a token gesture if he gets supported properly. He's got a condition called Lewy bodies. Okay. And I hardly have any sleep. But you know what? If my dad wasn't here with me, I know my dad wouldn't be here today. My dad is here because of me and my family, and I am so immensely proud. He did it for me. He has done it for others. Do you know, every morning, I will say this, and Glenda will support me in this. He will ask for other people, how are they? But yet, you know, and this is why I'm saying, this is why it's imperative for us to come together. And don't get me wrong, there are instances that we know isn't right, but it's wrong when our young people are not been given a chance. And we are that next generation from the Windrush generation, and the disadvantage that they experience, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. Do you think we're not getting that? Absolutely we are. And yet you can go and get your degrees, you can go and get your masters. Are you getting the jobs that you really should be getting? The answer is no. Or you will get it when you turn 60. Well, I've got enough grey hairs in my head to say something is wrong. So instead of waiting for that opportunity, let's galvanize what we do best. Let's come together. Let's present our situation. Let's speak the language that they use. And let's say we're no longer being invited to talk here and there. We want to sit at the same table with you. We want you to know exactly your policies are offensive. You cannot, and we've had 3 cases through Grace Brown, a barrister, who's won the cases of Windrush people, victims, who has gone through the courts, and the court has upheld for the victims. Now, there must be legislation coming soon, and we would like to see the Windrush Act, which is a protection act of the Windrush generation, descendants and their families.
Well, yeah, I agree with you there, Kendra. Thank you very much. So not to take away from anything that you said, you mentioned the march on the 23rd. Do you want to tell us something about that? I don't know if you want to start. Glenda, do you want to start with that?
Yeah. Wow. After following Julia, wow. One of the reasons, like Julia said, you know, we've only been doing it a couple of years. Doing what we do, we love it. My mum, and I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for my mother. I know that for a fact. Or father, or brother, or sister. And I believe if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Maybe I would be in Italy with my children and grandchildren. But something is calling me to be here, to stand up for those people who can't stand nor has a voice, and they're sick of speaking and fighting. My mum passed away on the 4th of May. And I've all of a sudden realised I can't sit and not say nothing anymore. It's about time we got off our backsides. And I'm calling out, like Julia said, and Anthony, to support your fellow Windrush generation and join us about the Windrush Act, about the Windrush scandal. It's about time our relatives, our family, our friends really got behind this. You know what I mean? It's about stepping up into your own power. It's about finding out who you are. This is all to do with identity. There's a statement, and you can get it. Have you got the statement?
I've got.
There's a statement, and it speaks to the core. Yeah, it speaks in here. Yeah, and my mum left me a message, and she said, "You step up, and you help those people who need helping, but the law must be changed. Give the Windrush generation their citizenship back. Give it them back." And that's what we're there to do on the 23rd. A lot of us can't go. I understand that because of COVID, but give your support. And there's so many ways that people can give the support. But if our own families and friends are not doing it, how can we expect the government to do it? You know, how many people are going to be listening in here tonight? Because how many times do we put out about Windrush? You know, what, 10 people, 20 people? Come on. This is huge. And people still don't get it. But there are people even today. And what, just because someone's a celebrity, we heard about the young man who his passport was...
Oh, yes, the celloist. Yeah.
I think Glenda's frozen, so you might have to take it up from there, Julia. The celloist. Yeah,
the celloist. There's a young man, the one who played at Meghan and Harry's wedding, even.
Okay.
And he got his passport held, or the documents held, and he applied to the Home Office to say, "Can you help?" And he found himself being subjected to the same inappropriate handling from the Home Office. And this is how callous they are. As soon as they hear a name that they can't pronounce or they don't identify with, that person is on the bin list, you know. And, you know, he's he's been given a royal approval. But again, that doesn't mean anything because, you know, how can I say this? It just goes to show the breakdown of communication within that practice. And this is what we're saying. We would like the infrastructure to be taken away from the Home Office. But even though we say that, we've got concerns about that as well, because that even might be more damaging for people who are already in the system. So what we're saying, there must be an overall, there must be a review, and an independent review at that, because when it's a review that is done by the government, then you've got the likes of Priti Patel, who one came out and said the detention centres were fit for purpose. We now know that that wasn't true. So she's been called out for that. She's been called out again for the unlawful behaviour between herself and the Home Office, the practices there. Called out for that. she's gotten away with that. So I've nicknamed Priti Patel Tefal because nothing's her. So what I'm saying is, if and I'm saying this with the hopes that it does get to her, because please do invite us to Parliament so we can sit down and say to you some of these things, and we can get it minuted properly, and we can have a shared discussion about the concerns raised by people. And then you've got the Home Office that has got applicants that are going through them, but they're not being appropriately supported. Because if they were, they wouldn't be coming back to us to say they've not been allocated a caseworker. They don't know who their caseworker is. It's going round and round and round. So the 23rd, we just felt that that movement needed to be on the back of the 22nd while it was in everybody's mind's eye. And the 23rd would be integral because we do know there's a couple of victims personally that we are related with or we're connected with who lives in that area, and they will be coming as well because the Home Office, guess what, has retained their documents. They can't get any further. So please, you know, more people were planning to come. We had over 100 people coming in coaches, and then in another coach in Manchester, another 100 as well. And what's happened? Boris Johnson, that
if we hold there on that blasphemy that you was just about to say, okay, we're just going to take a break and then we'll be right back. Okay.
Feel the vibe on Legacy. Are you in the process of planning a funeral? Do you have friends and family in the UK or abroad that may not be able to attend the funeral service? Audiovisual Funerals are the UK's leading funeral video streaming service provider. We can film your funeral and privately broadcast it live over the internet to your friends and family anywhere in the world. So, if you are in the process of arranging a funeral and have friends and family that may not be able to attend, call Audiovisual Funerals today on 0161 676 5555. That's 016.
Just before, when we lost you, did you want to add anything to what was being said? You were going to mention the young man, the young cello player.
Yes, the cello player.
Yeah, I was just seeing if Glenda wanted to add anything to what you had said, Julia. Hold on, I've got her on mute. Sorry, Glenda, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I don't know where I was up to. I was getting so inspired and empowered by Julia. I was sort of, and then next thing you know, I was talking to myself.
Yeah, she did give a good explanation of the situation, but just still, what was it that touched you about that situation?
Well, again, and I think it was something that was raised at the Windrush National Organisation engagement meeting they had tonight, that many people have had their passports taken from them. A lot of people don't realise why it's been done until they're being questioned about their status. So this, again, just being questioned about your passport. If you've had a passport, that means you're legal, aren't you? But again, it's like, to me, this is like a plaster over a wound that needs to be ripped off and deal with the issue that it's really at hand. You know what I mean? So the passport...
Sorry. Glenda. Welcome back. You're answering to the search engine with Anthony. I'm currently speaking with Glenda and Julia, both part of Windrush Preston generation. Been speaking to us about what's been happening over the past 2 years, what they've been involved with, sort of the victims have been going through, why it's very important for you to support and get involved and to have a deeper understanding of the reality of what's taking place for so many of these people, and not to see it as something that's distant from yourself. Both Julia and Glenda mentioned about the Windrush generation, and says that, you know, it's not just them, it's their children, their offsprings, which again we know that a lot of our elders didn't just come here and mix just with black people, you know. So therefore it's not just, when you think about Windrush, your mind should not just focus on that generation or a Caribbean generation. Although I would say in the sense of that generation, they were a very special generation. And I just think the fact of that age of 98, my dad's 93 at the moment, and they are a generation that, you know, many said were more English than they're English when they came here. They really, you know, came here to really give to this country and had a steadfast kind of approach in that they'll deal with anything that comes because they came here to get on, to develop, to better themselves and to better and give better to their families. So and that strength, I believe, was very much what came through from yourself, Julia, and from Glenda and so many of the people who are fighting for the victims. But at the same time, I think there's a learning also that's taking place for that younger generation, a strength that's being developed inside, and that lack of fear, which is so very much needed.
I think that's
just,
one of the. Go on.
Sorry, Glenda. I've just thought of the celloist's name. His name is Shaku Kenna Mason, and there is an actual post up now to say the Home Office has fixed their blunder. Now, isn't it interesting? Because he is a celebrity, that blunder has been fixed. And I wish that same luxury would be afforded to the many applicants that are sat waiting to get their documents back. If this person was not a celebrity, and as I said, not given a royal approval, it wouldn't have happened. And it just goes to show, because of the network of people he's got behind him, you know, and don't get me wrong, obviously he's a very talented young man.
Yeah.
And the accreditation, give credit where credit is due. But that luxury of having that network of people who will vouch for him or on behalf of him has come to his aid. But yet, when it's us trying to support our own people, that, well, you can't. Why can't you? Because you're not a relation, but that we're an advocate. We're there to support people, to enable them to understand the levels of questions that you're asking or the kind of questions that you're asking. And we're saying some of the questions that they do on this perpetual recurring instance is wrong. It's repeating trauma. It's repeating trauma. You've asked the question, what's your name? My name's Julia Davidson. And in the next breath, can you tell me what your name is again? What are we dealing with here? Is this max headroom? Or are we dealing with people who actually empathize with what the generation, the Windrush generation, has gone through? And another issue that I find very offensive, they accuse the Windrush generation of being lazy people. Well, let me tell you, I will defy anybody who can find somebody from the Windrush generation from the 1940s who didn't come here and work their socks off. Yeah? If this was now, today, I would probably go, well, do you know what? There's no jobs. But they took everything that there was going. They were bus drivers, they were nurses, they were cooks, they were chefs.
Railway.
In the railway. My father worked on the railways. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, asbestos, they were exposed to all of that, and they've never been given the support that they justifiably need. They've been told that they don't matter. They've been told if there was an issue, you're here to cause trouble. If they went to a tribunal over the jobs, oh, well, we're not, because nobody stands up for them. Nobody is standing up, and nobody is actually taking it on board to say, do you know what? We know this is fundamentally wrong. We know the injustices that have been caused, but let's put something in place to take it further to the next level, that people still feel respected and dignified. Because I tell you what, it's not so much the Windrush scandal, it is the undignified way that they expose people to the hostilities that they've had to go through. How would you like to be asked, are your children your own children? How would you like to be asked, how many children have you got because you're a black man? How would you like to feel because you're a black woman, you're just wanting to claim off the state? Or they accuse you of being a prostitute? And please don't tell me they're not saying that, because of course they are. They may not tell the officials. They tell us that after that trust has been built, to say a relationship's broken down, they've got another partner. That gives the Home Office the idea that women are irresponsible. Come on now. Love is love.
Okay. Listen, time's running, yeah? You started before we went to the break, you mentioned Boris, and in relation to why there's had to be changes to the march.
Yes.
Do you want to continue with that?
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, yes. And I'll keep it as short as I possibly can. Boris Johnson announced the other day that the restrictions that we were in, this current mode that we were in, was going to continue for up to another 4 weeks. And on the back note of that, with the coaches and everything, you've got to take into account the risk assessments, you've got to do safeguarding, and you've got to ensure that prior to the travelling arrangements, they've got to have 2 test results that have come back to say that they are fit for purpose or they're safe to travel. Because if you're coming from one location and coming to the central to London, then it flags up all kinds of connotations. Now, I don't believe that, but you know, we can't give them any more of these excuses to prevent something. So we said, well, do you know what? We know we've all been assured and tested. I do a test every week. Some of us have had the vaccines. I haven't, to be faced. And I did that because of the strength of when I asked where my father was concerned, they couldn't give me any guarantees that it would do him any good. And total opposite, they said because of his age, it could have an adverse effect. So for that reason, they say anybody who's on palliative care was exempt. And that was the reason why they said, because you've been advised of that, I dare say you don't want it. And I said, absolutely. And then knowing that, are you aware, Anthony, is another thing, because of this Indian variant that's come along, people who've had 2 injections are actually dying from this Indian variant, and they've had 2 vaccines, which is supposed to be the protection of everything. So please.
A lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Utter confusion. Utter confusion. So that's why
we're still
Glenda,
marching.
Yeah, we're still marching. The numbers are within the bubble. We've done everything that is expected of us to do. And by the will of God and our ancestors and the spirit and the motivation and the right attitude to come and present on behalf of the Windrush generation, come rain, hail, snow or shine, I'm even prepared to tie myself against the railings.
Oh, gosh. Well,
and that's why we had to do something, and I think as
how
well.
can people then get involved still or support the?
There are a couple. Okay, so there's a couple of GoFundMe pages. We need sponsors. We need people to support Anthony Brown, the Judicial Review. We need people to support the Windrush National Organisation. We need people to support those Windrush victims, although we call them pioneers, that have becoming to be advocates because they're supporting other victims who have not come forward. Join our free talk on a Tuesday night. Check out the websites. And if you can't, because there's a lot of people out there that don't do social media, they might do YouTube or Facebook, but they don't do social media. They may not be able to, we need more one-to-ones. So there's a lot of things that, and we want to say, especially if you're a victim, if you've got any question or you think, look, there's a reason why this is happening to me, you can join us, you can contact us, and there are concessions as well. So we're also planning that a small group of us are going to go on Wednesday, but we will definitely be going again on the 1st of August. But get involved. Contact us, contact Julia, contact myself. There's so many organizations out there doing great work, but they need your support so that we can do that. And we have, because do you know, if it weren't for those donations and it weren't for those volunteers, we wouldn't be able to also continue. But the love that we have for each other and from our families that do support us, you can't beat that. And that's what gives us the will and the drive to keep going forward. And Anthony Brown and Julia and Sam and Sakina and so many people, Joan, the Windrush National Organisation. That's one of the reasons that group started, is so that we can support not just groups and organisations, but the victims.
Yeah, Anthony seems to, well, he's saying that he's having problems getting on.
I might have to get the link, like you said.
Yeah, but he's been on before, so he should know the route. But he's keeping trying. I hope. I actually told him to get in touch with yourself, Glenda, for you to give him some directions on how to do that. But while we're waiting, hopefully to be joined by Dr. Jak, there's a couple of questions that I've got here. Let me see. 457.
Julia, sorry.
Windrush Act.
Yes.
How would this act read and be set out?
Well, obviously the papers have been put through, and if there is a couple of things. Obviously, we're asking for a judiciary review, and until Anthony is able to come through, because Anthony is from WD Legal, then he will give you the legal aspects of that. So it's taken a lot of work to put the documents through, and we're waiting for permission to have it go to court. And if permission is granted and it goes through to court, then obviously they will go through it. We feel already that we will be victors of that, but I've got to say, if I don't say it, then I wouldn't be true to myself. We feel that it will be in our favour. And all the cases, as I mentioned earlier, that has been successful through the courts is just another continuation to prove that these, the legislative laws that have been presented by the government and the Home Office was wrong. Because what we found is, although they are the government and the Home Office takes their guidance from government, it's all about legislation, and the legislation we find is not correct. Now, I'm not legally or legally minded, but I know that I've had to develop on that over this period of time. And we read everything and reread it and break it down to try and understand that use of language that they do in order to prevent you from going forward. So Anthony, I'm afraid, is the best person in which to get the legal aspects of it. So what we're waiting for, as I say, in short, what it's going to present in short is we're asking for a Windrush Act to change legislation on the basis of citizenship status, that people didn't have to apply for citizenship. They had the right before 1970s. In 1972, that was the case. And then after 1972, they changed that to say in the 80s, if you haven't applied for status, and that's where this nonsense all came in. It just unraveled everything. And what we found was there was an amount of people who there was an amount of people who were not aware that their status was an issue until they either applied for documents to travel or they applied for certain information about visas, etc., or their student child was going on to university or whatever, secondary education, whatever the case may be. And then when they're going through that process to find out if their documents were in order, they were saying, sorry, go away and come back and ask for this and ask for that. And that sometimes is the first instance that people are being told that they're not legal. Now, that word legal is very dangerous because, okay, you're not legal. Well, can you explain that? Now, you either take the option to explain it properly and thoroughly, and you give the reasons as to why they think you're not legal. Based on what? Yes. So this is where we found that the Home Office are not taking time to do those basic fundamental searches. If something presented to them states that they are illegal.
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Jak. Right. You can't get on. Okay, I'm going to put you through on air. Just 1 minute. Sorry about that, Julia.
Not a problem. So I was saying, if they found that their paperwork wasn't in order, then that's when, you know, all the alarms go off, because they're hearing things that they're illegal immigrants who shouldn't be here. And that's where the panic sets in. But 9 out of 10 times, they are legal citizens. But because the government is not allowing a proper search of that identification process to go through properly, they're just throwing caution to the wind and saying, right, they're to be detained because they're being deported. And some people don't even have the luxury of getting that opportunity. They're just lifted from wherever. Even if I don't know if you remember the job centre where people used to go and sign on. Yeah. So if people went to sign on, that was an indication. I'm sure you know the stories of the immigration officers were outside these unemployment offices waiting to scoop people up. So do you want the benefit, or do you want to be, you know, and I'm afraid there is a culture of people who are still scared to come forward because they don't know. And
that was actually a question that came through. You're still people that are fearful of coming forward. And obviously that is Julia. I've just been joined by both Anthony and Dr. Jak has also had issues on getting online, but we've got him on the phone. But just before we go over to Dr. Jak, just let me just say a quick good evening to Anthony. Good evening, Anthony. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, good evening, Anthony.
Good evening.
I'm glad that you could make it. I mean, any time is better than no time at all. And I'm sure we're going to get to speak with you, but we've got Dr. Jak on the phone, so I want to get him involved as well, if that's okay, yeah?
Yes, that's great.
All right, then. So good evening, Dr. Jak.
It's a pleasure. Good evening, Anthony. And also good evening, Anthony Brown. We met many years ago. I don't know if you remember, but no doubt we'll get onto that. Good evening to all our wonderful listeners around the world as well. Good evening.
Yeah, I definitely remember, Dr. Jak, when you came up to the Moss Side of Human Business Federation, and we came down to London to see you as well.
Yes, indeed.
Long time. I was young then. So Dr. Jak, thank you for joining us. I'm also here with Julia Davidson and Glenda Andrew, who are both representatives of the Preston Windrush, doing some tireless work along with Anthony to help some of the victims of the Windrush. And for yourself, I mean, Dr. Jak, I suppose people see you and point to you and call you the Nubian Jak man.
Indeed they do. Good evening to the lovely sisters, the queens in the house as well. Yes, they do call me the Nubian Jak man.
Yeah, we've spoke.
Are we spoken before, sis? Oh, wonderful.
Yes, we have.
Indeed. Okay, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you.
Preston.
Well, not seeing you. I've sent you the link again.
Oh, shall I try and get on that way?
Yes, please.
Well,
check your email.
Let's just do a little bit of intro about yourself, Dr. Jak, because we're going to go to a break in about 6 minutes. So maybe when we go to the break, you can give that a try. So listeners, for those who haven't seen the information that I put out about the show, we're talking to Dr. Jak now. I first heard about Dr. Jak when the Nubian Jak game came out. At that time, I was a avid book reader of African history and attending a lot of conferences. And I think it was at that conference that I actually bought the Nubian Jak game. And I spoke to Dr. Jak actually just the other day, and I still have the game. I actually have a yellow game. And
amazing.
Yeah, and actually went online and I looked it up. There wasn't many yellow ones around, but the one after mine were coming up at nearly £400.
Wow.
Yes, you have a collector's item there, Anthony. Do not sell it. Give that on to your grandchildren and they'll be able to buy real estate with that. Trust me, because it's a real collector's item. I'll tell you why. Because we've sold over 120,000, but the original of which you have, we only produced 1,000 of those. Only 1,000, Anthony, and you have one of them.
Wow. Better go and get a safe deposit box now, Bradley.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Dr. Jak, we are going to be talking to you. Could you tell us a bit about, because I know there's the games. You're a multi-talented man and have just been developing constantly. So we've got the games, the plaques that you've put in representation of people, the Tekken that was put up for the remembrance of soldiers black soldiers that were in the war. So let me stop. Just you tell a bit.
I'll briefly tell you what my background is. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. I used to be managed by the same manager as Bob Marley, which is an incredible calling card. A man by the name of Don Taylor. Of course, when he managed Bob Marley and Marvin Gaye, he made millions. But with me, I nearly made him bankrupt. So I took his advice, and I shouldn't say that. My music was a little bit like Rocky. You know, I was doing like reggae rock at the time, and it wasn't perhaps marketable in the UK. So I went into social work, and while working as a social worker, I stumbled upon this idea of trying to produce a game to make black children in particular, but people in general, more aware of African achievement. And that became the board game Nubian Jak.
Brilliant. And then, then let's say you got the game, the next step then, I mean...
I then produced an app. So there's a phone app. You can get a phone app to Nubian Jak, which is also a first. And then I moved into...
people can get that now, yeah?
You can get it now. You can go to Google Store, type in Nubian Jak 3D, and you can get the only or one of the few Black history phone apps on the market at the moment. But as you rightly say, yeah. So I do other things. You know, I published books, written a few books, but then I moved into plaques, public realm, honouring our people, memorialising our great achievers with blue plaques and bronze plaques. And I have a plaque in the Foreign Office, a black plaque in Whitehall. Yeah, we have the largest blue plaque in the world. To Notting Hill Carnival pioneers, and we basically got 60 plaques up and down the country. So it's an honour to be involved in more, commemorating our great African heroes and sheroes.
Yeah, and I must say the memorial that was done to the soldiers as well, in the sense of what it is, and the understanding of the history of what the Tekken or the obelisk is.
Yes, so we have my first statue that I designed was to African and Caribbean soldiers or personnel, military personnel, that's men and women, that served in both world wars. And at the time, there wasn't anything in the country that represented that. So I was very pleased that I was given the honor to design that. And as you know, I'm about to install one to the black nurses, man, and that's really exciting, black nurses and midwives, and that's about to be installed. Actually, ironically enough, hot off the press, because of the recent lockdown restrictions, it's been postponed for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So So we were going to unveil it on the 5th of July, and now we're looking at the 19th.
Right.
At the earliest.
That's a bit. I don't know. Is that a shame? I mean, on my mind, as you said, it's been postponed. There, what came to my head was the 1st of August.
It's interesting. Because the 19th is, 1st of August, which is, of course, African liberation. What is that day? Is that what day is that specifically? 1st of August.
It is the Emancipation Day.
Emancipation Day. Yeah. Great suggestion, Anthony.
And we're marching on that day again.
Are you marching, did you say, sis?
Yeah.
We'll be marching again on that day as well.
Well, every year, they've been having marches for the past 5-6 years on that day in London.
That's reparations, yes, of course, because they actually start at my war memorial. So, they start and end at the war memorial. So I am aware of that. Funny, I never thought of that, on that up to the 1st of August.
And
that may well be the day.
And then what Glenda's talking about there is they were supposed to do a march. Well, they are still doing a march on the 23rd.
Right.
I don't know. Do you want to say about that, Glenda, quickly?
I think Anthony can, because he's not introduced himself yet.
Yeah, go
but
on,
do you know what, Dr. Jak? Maybe we could catch up on that day next week.
Well, it'd be a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. We need to be connecting, seriously, joining the dots, man.
Definitely connect the dots. But I'll let Anthony, because I've spoke a lot. Anthony hasn't about the march. Tell Jak about the march, Anthony.
So on the 23rd, we'll be symbolically taking the Home Office to the Court of Parliament by starting the march at the Home Office. It's a half mile distance, and then the delegation will hope to present the statement to the Speaker of Parliament and the Lord Speaker. And the idea there is that for the last 3 years, the Home Office or the Home Secretaries have been telling Parliament that they're going to right the wrongs of the Windrush generation.
Yes, indeed.
They said that the Windrush generation are British in all but legal status. So this was the statement that Amber Rudd made on the 23rd of April 2018 when the Windrush scandal first broke, and that she said that this group of people should have been treated differently. So for me, that means differently in law. But what's been happening is that they've been treating the Windrush generation as migrants or foreigners, and naturalizing them. Now, how can you naturalize someone who is British? Because if you are British in all but legal status, and to naturalize you have to be a foreigner first. How can you be British and foreigner at the same time? It's irrational.
Indeed, totally irrational. Yeah.
But the Home Office has been trying to put square pegs into round holes, and so you get more trauma going on, because in applying the rules as they are now, they're trying to apply immigration law, and the immigration law says if you've been out of the country for more than 2 years, then you lose your residency. Well, the Home Office, in its wrongdoing, refused people re-entry to the UK. So they've stayed out of the country because of the Home Office. And then when the Home Office says, okay, we're going to right the wrong, and they let them back in, the rules of naturalization say that you have to be in the country 5 years before you can naturalize. And so you're supposed to be already British. You have to be waiting for 5 years to naturalize when you've been kept out of the country by the Home Office's wrongdoing. So it's all bunkum. And they're telling the Parliament and telling the country that they're righting the wrongs. They're committing more wrongs. And so what we're saying is that they need to legislate so that people can register. There used to be registration up until 1st of January 1988. And people who should have been able to do that, we're saying that now that, the scandal has exposed all this wrongdoing by the Home Office, Parliament should act and change the law and allow people to register as citizens rather than naturalize and try to make them say that they were foreign when they were British.
When they're British in the first place.
Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to have to go for a break, and then we'll come right back. Dr. Jak, do you want to try and see if you can get on?
I'll try right now, Andy.
If not, you can just call me back. All right, we'll be right back.
Cool.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
We want. Okay, guys, so we're still live. Just taking a break. Just while we are on the break, let me just give there was a question that I said before, but I didn't read it correctly. I said about people still fearful about coming forward. But the question was actually, do victims have the right to be fearful about coming forward?
I think
I don't know. Go on.
Go on, Sister Glenda. Wait.
I think it's not. I think they may. This, because of their experience and what's happened in the past, it's a fear of unknown. However, I think it's an unconscious knowing that it's not right. They know deep down within their soul, whatever they're going through is not right. It don't feel right. I'm using the word right, but I don't think it's that. It's off. It's wrong. It's off. But you can't explain it. Can you imagine if someone turned around to you now and said, you're not British and you need to do this, that, and the other to prove to them who you are? I hope we're not online.
Yeah, we are.
It's ridiculous. But what we're still doing is perpetuating the story, which is wrong. So now we're saying, stop it, in a sense. Get it changed. Because because can I say something? Especially all the seniors that are passing now, we do Windrush Community Response, we're helping people, we're seeing all our seniors are dying. Literally. So when they go, what happens to the naturalization certificate? What happens to you, me, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? What's going to happen? You're going to send all these people in their 80s like me when we get to 70, 80. Do you know what I mean? You need to go back to Dominica. I've never been to Dominica. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway. You know what I mean?
I think that there is that genuine fear that if they do come forward, they don't know what the criteria or the questions are going to be. Because as Glenda rightly said, some people may no longer have parents who are living to prove that they came here with their parents as a child. And back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, when people were coming from the Caribbean, they came as minors on their parents' passport. So children at that time didn't need to have a passport. Yes?
Yeah.
So what you've got is a child that's grown up in the UK.
In his 50s, 60s maybe now.
You know, yes. And they've got to a certain age. And for whatever reasons, even if I think they've even, I read a story not so long ago, and it was to do with the.
Sorry, Julia, just 1 minute. Julia's talking. we have come back, and I'm still talking with Julia, Anthony, and Glenda. We're still waiting for Dr. Jak to join us. Just in the break, I asked a question. A question that came in was about, do victims have the right to still be fearful of coming forward? And that is what Julia is speaking to at the moment. Sorry about that, Julia.
Not a problem, Anthony. Yes, they are fearful because they don't know what the scenario is going to be. And some people have become a little bit, I think it's begun more than fear now. They're thinking, well, look, we're here, we're of a certain age, there's no point, you know, try and either not bring attention to themselves, but they're coming through because there's no such thing as you're not going to be detected, because they have all your particulars in the system. Yes?
Even down to death now. It's ridiculous.
Can I just say,
even
Julia,
down to death. Sorry, it's wrong. Sorry.
Can I just say, Julia, the important thing now, where you have people who may feel that, you know, they've not had a problem so far, what they should bear in mind is what happened to Sakina and Sakina's daughter.
Absolutely.
So it's future generations that they also need to think about, because the way the law stands at the moment, if you're not recognized as being British, then sometimes your children will not also be recognised as being British. And we've all heard the stories of twins being deported to different islands in the Caribbean because one parent came from, I think it was Dominica, and another from Antigua, and they weren't dealt with in terms of their statuses, and had got in trouble with the law. And if you get a sentence for more than a year, then under the UK Borders Agency Act 2007, you are liable for deportation automatically. So with people not coming forward and dealing with their status, they're running the risk that future generations will get into trouble or get fitted up. We all know what happened in the 70s and 80s with the sus laws, and be filling up those charter planes to the Caribbean to be deported. So it's something that everybody needs to deal with as a community. We really need to check that we have all the documentation that we're entitled to. The fight that we're carrying out is to make sure that it's even more secure for people now and for future generations by making sure that that registration route is restored.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, we're still waiting for Dr. Jak to get back to us. If you can't get on, hopefully you will give us a call back. But in relation to the statue that he has designed and that he said was going to be put up on the 5th of July, but it's had to be changed as a recognition of the nurses and midwives that came over to support the NHS. He also have done a song, a track to go with the statue. There, I think you may be joining us now.
Hey, I got
hey, greetings. Just
nice
in time, yeah. And I was just actually just speaking about the track, Dr. Jak. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So before I come to you and you speak to us again, let me just actually play that track. So everybody, this is the track. It's goes with the commemoration statue for nurses and midwives who supported the NHS. It's called "I Have a Song." It was written by Eric Robinson and features Dr. Jak, who's with us here. So here we go. It's called "I Have a Song." Listen up.
The remix. I Have a Song. The remix.
I Have a Song. The remix. Thanks for correcting.
Yeah. Big up our massive our crew. As in the end, love is all we need. It is. How does it feel to finally be free? Wonder will I ever know. Sometimes I dream of how it would be to have a life that I own. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my soul? All I want is love. Someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song, yeah. So long, I've been searching for something that I'm probably not meant to find. No matter how hard it gets, no matter when the tears fall, nothing can stop us from trying. Oh, when you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story?
Legacy 90.1 FM.
Beula, walk a million miles to be free. Some make a living, stop the killing, spread a little love, and cause love is all we need in our day.
United, we stand and divided, we fall. Tell me, look, we see at the time we stand tall. Now you don't want to answer the call. When you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time, I have a song. When you look at me, what do you see?
What do you see?
Do you understand?
Do you understand?
Sorry.
Someone else to see.
Come to the end
I
now.
feel like I need a dance.
Oh, beautiful.
My song. Oh, and lyrics.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Legacy 90.1 FM.
Love conquers all.
Love, definitely. Gotta have love.
Absolutely.
Gotta have love.
Indeed. And that's it.
The heartbeat of your community. Legacy 90.1.
Is that you singing?
Your number one community station. Yeah. This is Legacy 90.1.
Thank you so much.
Hi, welcome. It's a beautiful track.
Beautiful. It is. Sorry to say, it is. It really is.
It's great.
Oh, sorry.
I love the lyrics.
Yeah,
wow.
exactly.
And I think that's another one for my list for the year, you know? I love music. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well,
and you're singing?
I am singing on it and I'm DJing on it and I produced it. But what we want to do, and by the way, the NHS choir on it as well, and they're absolutely fantastic.
Which NHS choir? Be positive.
No. They're called the Lewis and Greenwich NHS choir, but they are the definitive NHS choir. And they've actually had a number one in this country. And they're actually blowing up all over the place. They've just finished with Justin Bieber. You can look them up, Google them. And we were really honored to have them on the track.
Fantastic.
So that was kind of cool, yeah.
Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you
Maybe
so much.
Maybe you could create one where you get all the Windrush organisations in.
Exactly.
Dr Jak and present us and record us and edit us and let's put it out there. You know, like how they did the Live Aid. Let's do the Windrush Aid.
You see, sis, you've got so many ideas, and we can do it. And I'm serious, we can do it because I'm a doer and not a walker. Sorry, not a talker. I walk the walk. So if you guys want to do that, and you know what, in all seriousness, we should do that as an awareness campaign. And what we should do, it's not about even us. It's about getting all the famous black acts, reggae, grime. You understand? Get the Stormzy's in there and everybody, and let's blow this thing up.
A little bit of gospel there and all.
Exactly.
Let's take it to church, man.
How do we get that? Should we plan that now, Jak, while we're here?
This is what I'm saying.
Idea.
It's a great idea.
We can do it because everything starts with an idea. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what that would be, I mean, even though we're just saying it as talking it through, but I think if I'm going to be the catalyst and put the cat amongst the pigeons and say, let's do this for next year. Let's do this for next year, which is, 2022. Let's make Windrush, and then we have got that for our Windrush Day, and it goes out and get everybody supporting it.
Jak, there's a real historical date to this. And you might know about the Somerset case, where an enslaved African was prevented from being sent to the Caribbean by Lord Mansfield in 1772. But guess what? The date that the judgment was handed down was the 22nd of June. and Windrush Day is the 22nd of June.
That's
so
really
next year is the 250th anniversary of that judgment.
Boom.
So there's a good incentive to actually.
That's why we have. That's why we have King Anthony.
Yes, brilliant, absolutely brilliant idea.
Okay,
and we should do it. Yeah.
Well, just one other point, Jak. You mentioned about nurses.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you: have you ever heard of the EHS?
I'm not sure what that abbreviation
Has
stands
anybody
for.
here ever heard of the EHS?
No.
Immigration Health Service?
No.
Good guess, though, by the way.
Because I've just made it up.
Service Health.
It's the Empire Health Service.
Okay.
And I just wanted to raise awareness of, you might know this as well, one Cuba Cornwallis.
Yes, I know her.
Who saved the life of Horatio Nelson.
Why did she do that?
1780. Otherwise, we'd all be speaking Spanish. And you know, Nelson is 200 feet up in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah.
No mention of Cuba Cornwallis. So I was wondering, could we start a campaign to get a plaque on Nelson's column to commemorate Cuba Cornwallis?
It sounds like there just needs to be another meeting between you. We've
already planned that for the 23rd.
Yeah, that's done. Yeah,
when we're having lunch.
Let's just
maybe
find
when we're
out
having lunch
about the statue for now. So, Dr. Jak, can you tell us the song? It goes with the statue, although it speaks to much more of a wider issue of what's been going on for a very, very long time. It both, is very clear about what needs to be done, but it's also very touching in the sense of, like, it allows a release, and I could actually see myself, even though I can't sing, backed within a choir, hiding somewhere, doing my best to do that. So just tell us about the statue, because like I said about the Tekken for the war heroes, looking at the statue from the picture, again, it seems that you've got that historical from my eyes. Yeah, I felt I saw something looking a bit like an ankh.
You did, indeed you did. You saw the face of the nurse as an ankh, and you saw her suckling a baby. The baby is the NHS, and it's made out of 16 pieces. 1 and 6 is 7. The statue is 7 foot high, 7 foot wide, and every piece is structured on a number divisible by 7. So, for instance, the nurse's torso is 63 by 21. That was my Da Vinci moment. Obviously, I am the statue's designer. And the reason I wanted to have an ankh for the face of the nurse, because the ankh obviously is the key of life, right? A symbol of life. These nurses gave life. They suckled, but also they were invisible. They were seen. They weren't really seen. So as an ankh is a circle, I wanted to create this artistic representation of these nurses who were not seen. I don't know if you can see me because I've got something in front of my thing. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So you've disappeared in front of me, but no worries. I'll just ignore what's in front of me and think. It was very important that we use African high culture, just like we did for the War Memorial, to give this beautiful artistic statement of the majesty of these wonderful nurses, self-sacrificing nurses who served the NHS for 7 decades. And that's why I used the number 7. So it's quite, in fact, somebody said to me, this is the God's truth, Anthony. Someone said to me, "Oh my God, Jak, you're like Da Vinci." And I said, "Stop taking the Michelangelo." That's exactly what I said at the time. And that's the God's truth. I did. But I want to tell you something very quickly, back to Anthony Brown's suggestion of this wonderful off-the-cuff idea, which we should materialize. I got a great team. None of this happens in a vacuum, right? Yeah, I can be the face of it, but there's a massive team behind Nubian Jak. And one of my team is a lady called Kasheniwa Agaji. In fact, she's in all the correspondence, Anthony, that you may have copied me in. She should be in there. She's my boss, basically. And we came up with this idea. As another sister came up with this idea, I have a song to do for the War Memorial and these nurses. And they said, "Will it be great if we could get Eric Roberson to sing on the track, Jak?"
Wow.
And honestly, sis. And I don't remember what we were smoking or drinking at the time, but we just started creasing with laughter. 6 months later, I had Eric Roberson in the back of my car driving to the studio.
Wow.
So that's the power of the mind. So when you say, Anthony,
power of the spirit,
the spirit, the mind,
power
the
of
will,
the spirit,
yes, and the ancestors' guidance, ancestral guidance,
true.
and the Holy Creator, because there's always, we are just simply, as you know, the puppets, and we have a role to fulfill. But what I'm saying is, when you say, let's do this thing, Windrush, when you speak to people like me, I don't play when we talk them thing there. If you're ready for that, let's do it, because
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, sis.
We don't talk, we act as well. So
I know.
We're on point. Do you remember when I said to you, I said, you got to come to Preston? Do you remember? I said, we ain't got a plaque here yet.
Oh, yeah. I see. Is that
Do you remember? That's me.
Of course I remember. Oh, you're even more beautiful than I imagined. Well, that came out wrong, actually. I imagined you're just as beautiful as I imagined. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Yes, sister, I do remember that. And how's that going, by the way?
It's Windrush, but it's quiet. That's why we will meet next week.
Right.
Home office, outside the Home Office.
Yeah.
Next week. I think it's 1 o'clock, isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Right. So can I ask, just go on,
I've got a confession to Brother Jak, because I called you I reached out to you regarding a blue plaque, because the criteria here is that you have to be dead at least 20 years before they will put you in as a consideration. And I was hoping, along with Anthony Brown, to do something for Mama Edwards, Eloise Edwards, who's a lifelong activist in Manchester, and she 38 projects and more. I mean, I've forgotten what she's, everything that she did.
Yeah.
And also for Paulette Wilson, because what I was saying is it would give our community, our people, something to resonate to say, look, we are here. We're not invisible. I'm sick of being washed out and nobody don't identify with if we're not athletes or if we're not singers, don't recognize our worth, our contributions. So look, we need to do this. We're deadly serious. You will find that this little group here, once it sits there and once it comes out of here, we know how, with the support of
and we got that.
Let's do it.
Beautiful.
Putting it out there.
So are the two sisters alive that you just mentioned?
No, both of these ladies, sadly, have died. But their spirit and their legacy, that would be a great legacy for us to have. And I think not only for Manchester, where Mama Edwards lived and did a volume of work, it would be instrumental to be rolled out Birmingham, London, Peterborough, Leeds, Liverpool. We don't have many iconic figures that we can say, we do, but they're not seen.
But they're not recognized.
They're not recognized.
And it's great to have them recognized by their peers, which is...
I'm just looking her up now. Mama Edwards. Let's have a look and see.
Mama
Eloise Moss Side's Mama Edwards. Moss Side, okay. Eloise Edwards, MBE.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm going to look into her. All right, so here's the thing, right? In Manchester, I've got my eye on Manchester because there are not enough black plaques in Manchester. In fact, we wanted to honour a man by the name of Lord Kitchener. Do you know Lord Kitchener?
Yes.
Yes, Clipsonian.
Right, yes, absolutely. So he was,
London is the
exactly.
Windrush extraordinaire.
You're going to put me out of business, Anthony. But
no, in that, Jak.
So we have our eyes on Manchester because, as I understand it, there are no blue plaques to people of African descent in Manchester. Not one.
In the northwest.
In the northwest, there's one to there's a plaque, but it's not blue, to the PAC conference of 1945.
Yeah.
So there is that plaque in Manchester, which is a beautiful thing.
Jak, we've got people in unmarked graves down here, and again, that's what. And then I remember we did correspond a few years ago. It was a few years ago, but again, you're right. It does need moving. Is it down north? Up north.
Up north and down
Is it
south.
up north
It's,
and
yeah,
down
it's up
south?
north, isn't it?
So
Yeah,
it needs
that's
to
right.
come. Don't get me wrong. The south, great, but it needs to come up north.
I agree. I 100% agree with that, and that's what I was saying to Anthony and Angela actually when we spoke yesterday or the day before, whenever it was. We do need to join the dots, because otherwise we do not become as formidable as we are. Which takes me back to the 23rd. That's His Majesty's birthday, isn't it, Anthony? Yeah,
no,
beautiful
that's
day.
the 23rd of July. 23rd of June we're planning on.
Oh, 23rd of June. Beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Okay. So are we going to? Are you going to touch base with family in London, and we go up there and we let them know this is a national thing? Or
That's the plan.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Cool.
Will you join us?
I'll join you, but I'm talking about like entities down here who would be wonderful to knock on 10 Downing. Are you going to Parliament or 10 Downing Street?
Parliament. Downing Street is well, they're the problem. So we're looking at Parliament to for the solution, because the Downing Street is the government, and what we're saying is Parliament is being misled by the government.
Yeah.
Because the government keeps saying to Parliament that we're righting the wrongs, and what they're doing is creating more wrongs. And you've got the wrongdoer at the moment saying that they're going. They see we've been pressuring the government, the Home Office, with our arguments that the scheme that they have, the Windrush scheme, is not fit for purpose.
Indeed, it's not.
And a number of people have been allowed back to the UK, great, but they're still living in limbo because they have to be in the UK for 5 years before they can get their citizenship back, and that's nonsense.
Yeah.
So what the Home Office is proposing is that they change the law, but they give discretion to the Home Secretary to make exceptional decisions for people about their status. Now, we also find that irrational because, why should the abused rely on the discretion of the abuser?
Yes, and she's one of the abuser in chief, by the way. That woman.
I don't find that as something that appeals to me. So you've got the wrongdoer trying to adjudicate and say what should happen to the wrong. What we're arguing is that it should be a right. The citizenship being given back should be a right, and if Parliament is going to legislate, Parliament should legislate to give back citizenship, as a right rather than at the discretion of the abuser.
Okay,
Anthony,
we're take a break, guys, and then we'll be right back.
Beautiful.
Feel the vibe on Legacy. Are you in the
Right, we're still live on air. Was just the listeners on the radio that can't hear us at the moment. Just while we're in the break, can I just put a question to Dr. Jak? The question was, Dr. Jak, what's your best feedback for what you've done and are doing?
By the way, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, because you've completely disappeared now from my screen. I've just got my screensaver. Best.
Well, you've frozen.
Oh, have I frozen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So if that's not helpful, you can still hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll keep rabbiting on, and then I'll log out and come back in and see if I got any more joy. Best. Okay. This is a little bit unpleasant. Theresa May spoke about the War Memorial and how basically wonderful it was. I have a WhatsApp link of her, which if you have had your dinner, I won't put it up because we don't want anybody getting, emptying up, heaving their stomach up. To be honest with you, I try to remain, as I said, it's a team effort, and I try to remain blissfully unaware of accolades. I will say this, Anthony, both Anthonys, but I was actually referring to Anthony Brown. They allegedly have put me up for some award, and I will even say on this platform, I have no idea if I will take it or not. To be honest, if it's the right one, I will, but without saying too much. If it's the wrong one, if it's entry level, I detect them thing there. Them have to come proper. You understand? If them want me to take it, them have to come proper. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's all I'm going to say.
Welcome back. You're on Tune to the Search Engine with Anthony. Currently, my guests on the show is Julia Davidson, Glenda Andrew, Anthony Brown, and Dr. Jak Beula. Did I pronounce that right, Dr. Jak?
You have. You could drop the doctor, you know. Just Jak is all good.
Okay,
okay.
Yeah. Jak, aka Nubian Jak game, and you can get the game. Obviously, Jak is a developmental person, so the game's developed along with him and a lot of what he's doing. So you can get that app on the Play Store, Jak.
You can. Yeah.
Wow.
And download that. And it's a wealth of knowledge and information. If you want to play in a game with your young children and get them to get knowledge of their background, identity, and history, then that's surely one of the best games around to instill that kind of knowledge. Just one more question, because we've literally got 10 minutes to go, Dr. Jak, and then if you can just tell us a bit more with regard to the memorial for the nurses, and what further gaps need filling for a point of view, from your point of view of remembrance.
Okay, so one memorial is not enough. We should be having memorials in every city, in every town, in every part of the country. So that's one gap that needs to be filled, and we could start with Manchester. We could start with putting a statue up in Manchester to the countless thousands of African men and women who've served this country, whether it be in the war or in the NHS or just in public service. You understand? We need to put that right, and we will do. And it may take other generations, because you guys are starting something beautiful. It's a beautiful thing you're doing. In fact, I'd like to ask this: how supported are you in Manchester with our allies, which is white folk, as well as the African Caribbean community?
I think that's questions.
White people are supporting the cause. They just as sickened with what they hear and see. There are neighbors, there are friends, there are family. The African Caribbean community is the most integrated community in the country. 50% of African Caribbean families are mixed with European. So when you're talking about the African Caribbean community, you're talking about the British public in general. Right. So yes, we are supported by them. We don't call them allies; they're just part of our group, really.
Okay.
So on Preston Windrush Free Talk, we have regulars who are white. We even have a Conservative councillor. So that's to show the extent to which we're open and accepting. People believe that the Conservative Party, is as the name suggests, might be more conservative with regards to immigration. But when you look at the track record, that's not so. We have this hoo-ha every year or so with the deportation flights, and that is directly legislation that was passed by a Labour government. So these laws that were passed over the last 50 years, it was a result of both parties. They used to have a Dutch auction every election as to who was going to be the meanest to immigrants. And then they passed these laws, and then eventually the 2014 Act said that if you didn't have legal documentation, or you couldn't prove your legal status, then you couldn't access the NHS. You couldn't have your job, you couldn't rent a house, have a driver's license, have a bank account, and they call that the hostile environment. Well, you know, I'm saying that, you know, the hostile environment's been going on a long time. It's just that it was being put into law this time, because when our parents came here, they came into an environment where they saw in windows no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. Now, you're not going to tell me that's not hostile. And people didn't rent them houses. My dad got accommodation in Preston. That's partly my affection for Preston. So there was a family there, a black family, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, and they gave my dad a room. And without that, he probably would have struggled and not got through, you know, his education and being able to work and bring us all over. Yeah. So yeah, this hostile environment's been there for a while, and you know, we hope to begin to with all you know, the people of the UK try to turn things around and change the law. And you know, obviously, if you want laws changed, the majority of the population have to support it. So it's imperative that our story goes out to the wider community, and they as you know, the voices have been raised in Parliament just as much against injustice as black people are. I don't think that's an issue. So yeah, we do.
So your reasoning for that question, Jak, was that about power in numbers?
It was indeed, and if I was just watching Tony and thinking he'd make a really good politician, wasn't he? Because he kind of fudged the question. He was just anyway. I take the point. No, the reason I did ask, because of course it is important that we do. You're right. You don't have to call them allies. I call them allies because clearly, family, everything starts with us. For me, you understand. If we don't have a community that's united in presenting our story, then it's very unlikely and very difficult for others to advocate on our behalf or with us. So that's really where my question was predicated on.
So true.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I think Anthony's very rounded, aren't you? I think you are the politician.
He's an amazing man.
Well, you might say it's politics, but actually there's a logic to the argument, you see, because my position is that it's about human rights, and
Absolutely.
you know, human rights isn't white or black. You know, it's human rights, and indeed. So the fundamental issue with Windrush is about human rights. And when we look at history, I wrote in the statement that I made in the Judicial Review about the rebellion that Sam Sharp led in Jamaica in 1831-32. And most people will call them slave rebellions. Well, I called it a human rights war.
Yes. Indeed.
So it changes.
We've never called them slaves. Actually, we call them enslaved. We have redefined the term actually, because they weren't slaves. They were human beings, and you're right. They were human beings fighting for their human rights. And they were enslaved people.
And in the UK, you had abolitionists who were also fighting for human rights.
Absolutely.
And so, and today we're fighting for human rights. So it's not really a political statement; it's a logical argument that to say. And in the review itself, we're using then the Human Rights Act, because we're saying under Article 14 you have a right not to be discriminated against, a human right. So there's a logic to it to say, look, these are our laws, these are our values, and we find that we have a wrongdoer, a lawbreaker in the Home Office that's disrespecting our British values, and we need to have that organization broken up.
Can I just say, because we've really got a short time, so can I just get some last words from you all, and I'll bring you in on that, Glenda. So Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Can you just give us some last words, please?
from the statement?
Yes, I think Julia mentioned the word unique before. We are a unique people. Our ancestors were bought as property by the British state from the West Indian planters, and that makes us the redeemed. And we know in spirituality, the redeemed are co-heirs to the kingdom. So we want to see an office of the United Kingdom when the Home Office is broken up.
Okay, thank you for that. Glenda?
I'm trying to get it. I did have it before, but I have to say, I was trying to end with something that was written in Anthony's statement. And I just want everybody to get, I did have it, but because we've been talking and having a really good talk here. So all I want to say is,
was there a particular part? I mean, I've got it
yeah,
here.
it was near the end, and that's why I was going to say to Anthony to summarize. But all I want to say is that, like Jak said before, it's about our communities, especially our communities, stepping up and standing with our Windrush generation and descendants for the sake of your children and your grandchildren. Because if you don't do it, just like we, you know what? If we don't look after each other, and you want to trust the government to look after you, you're putting it in someone's hands. I'm sorry. We got to look after each other. And it doesn't matter where you come from, regardless, we've got to look after each other. We need to take our power back. And it's about time we stepped into our power, and it's not in the government. It's in yourself.
Okay, thanks for that, Glenda. Julia?
Wow. For me, as an ex-civil servant, I always said, if politics wasn't about people, then I was no longer interested. I would become disengaged with it. Because for me, it's about community. It's about belonging. It's about knowing who you are, embracing our identity. And it's about our social equity. It's about our cultural diversity, because we are a diverse people. We are we're so diverse, it's unreal. I think there is a saying, out of one, we are many. And that's very true. And we are right across the world, whether it be here in the UK, globally, internationally. You know, our music, a genre of music, everybody loves. Our food, everybody loves. Everybody loves our culture, how we are. Everything has been mimicked off of us, who we are in our own rights. And I think it's about time we took that back. It's not a case of you're being compensated. It's about being reimbursed. Yes. And for me, the challenges has been faced long enough. Anthony, you yourself said your father is 93. My father is 98. And if there's one thing that I will say, my dad always says, there is no love. Where is the love? And he's very right. And it doesn't take an elderly man in his 98th year, twilight years, to still have to say those words. Pray for them. Pray for them. Well, my prayer and my father is telling me to march. My ancestors are telling me, don't sit, to hum it, beat it, bang your drum, raise your voice, let them see you, because you are somebody. And we have a saying, I am somebody's pitney. Yeah, we need to do this. We need to do this for all the right reasons. It's not a generation then, it's a generation now, and it's the generation that goes beyond. And these disadvantages and these disparities that keep happening will allow to continue if we don't say it stops with us. I don't want to see my grandchildren grow through this and have to endure all of this nonsense much longer. And I will leave you with one final thought, Anthony, the producer of this program this evening. The 683 police who are going to be deployed into our schools. And if that isn't a pathway to the prison cells or the justice courts, I don't know what else is. We need to put the brakes on to say enough is enough. We need to be looking out for each other. We need to be speaking up on behalf of each other, and we need to be supportive of each other. And this system that we're in now is not allowing us to do that. So the only way we can do that is to say, do you know what? We're here. We don't come with anger. And I don't particularly like the word allies. I say supporters, because there are supporters right across. And if we have the support that we should be having, we can make those changes, and those changes begin with us. And the only way we can do that is if we get up ourselves and make those changes happen. Now, Windrush Day for next year, I'm looking forward to the song.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks a lot.
We're singing the song. We're singing the song. Yes, Jak.
Okay, Dr. Jak.
Well, it's all been said, really, so I'm not going to add too much more to what has already been said. Suffice to say, it will be a pleasure to link arms with my brothers and sisters, comrades, north of Watford, north of the M25, and let's make this happen. Let's make next week happen. We'll correspond by email about that, and let's make next year happen, Ja willing. And I hope you will buy the song, Nubian Jak. I have a song, the remix.
It will be on my Facebook tonight. Watch
Lovely.
We'll be singing it. We'll be singing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Where people can keep abreast of what you're doing, of when the dates are finalized for the erection.
They can actually go to a site. It's called Crowdfunder. So it's crowdfunder.co.uk/Nubian-Jak. There's no C in Jack. I gave my C to charity.
Did you say cloud?
Yeah, crowd as in congregation. Crowdfunder.
Crowdfunder, sorry.
Crowdfunder.co.uk/Nubian-Jak.
Excellent. And maybe when some of the things are finalized, we may be able to get together again and share more info. So listen, thank you all very much for agreeing.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you for all your support, Jak.
Yes, you're a blessed brother.
Yeah, we'll be in touch about the events next year.
We will do. Love and peace. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Okay. Then,
I think you should go out with the song again. I think you should play it.
Can you not hear it at the moment?
Yeah, but I think you need to turn it up
again. I'm going to turn it up. Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Good night, all.
Good night, all.
Good night. And thank you.
Family.
And here we go. The remix by Nubian Jak featuring Eric Robinson. Okay, guys. Thank you.
As in the end, love is all we need. How does it feel to finally be free? Sometimes I dream how it would be to have a life that I love. When you look at me, what do you see? Just understand your story. All I want is love, someone else to see. If you took the time and heard a song, yeah. So long, I've been searching. Something that I'm probably not meant to find. No matter how hard it gets, no matter when the tears fall, nothing can stop us from trying. Oh, when you look at me, what do you see? Do you understand my story? All I want is love, someone to see. took the time to have a song.
Legacy 91 FM.
Walk a million miles to be free, just to make a living and stop the killing and spread a little loving, cause love is at the end. United we stand and divided we fall. Tell me look we see at the time if we stand. Now you don't want to answer when you look at me. What do you see?
The words are really just fit so much with the purpose of what it's all about.
All I want is love.
Anthony, you should write it in the chat.
The song.
Yeah, write it in the chat.
Have a song. When you look at me,
When you look at me,
what do you see?
What do you see?
You understand?
My story.
Go on, Sister Glenda.
All I want is love.
All I want is love.
If you took the time, have a song.
Have a song. Go on, Julia. I keep thinking there's going to be a trailer.
Your number one community station. This is Legacy 90.1. The heartbeat of your community. Legacy 90.1.
Okay then, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And look forward to speaking to you soon.
I hope you.
See you on the 23rd, Anthony.
Yes. Hopefully. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Take
See
care.
ya. Bye. Yes, that's it for another week. We'll be back next week. Take care. And thank you. See ya.